just fell in love with these mountains so quickly. This was the hike that did it. Right here, sitting right here. And I can understand why. Good day. I am back. Happy spring, everybody. So here we are in beautiful Jasper today, and basically it's 31 years today that I pretty much arrived here, did my very first hike in the Canadian Rockies. It was just a short little hike up in the what we call the Pyramid Bench, which would be behind the town here. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna recreate the very first hike I ever did here. So when I first came out, I was staying at the Astoria here. So this is where I would have left from, and I would have went down and up into what we call the Pyramid Bench and did a trail called the Edge of the Bench. So that's what we're gonna do today, and we're gonna start right from where I first started 31 years ago. Let's go. Okay, so yeah, I would have left the hotel and then I went down the street. There's Pyramid Mountain. So we're heading up into what's called the Pyramid Bench, which is kind of like a plateau, but it's more of a series of little ridges and valleys with beaver ponds and little lakes and stuff like that, which would have been all glacially carved at one point in history. Yeah, lots of good trails up there. They all interconnect, multi-use, horsebacking, biking. It's gonna look a little different now because I've done some clear cutting up there because of the pine beetle. So it would have looked much different 31 years ago, but we're gonna go see what it looks like today. So yeah, I left the hotel. I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. I didn't even know if there was a bank machine in town because they were kind of a newer thing at the time. So I was like, oh, I hope they do because I don't have much cash on me. So then I stopped at the grocery store and got some snacks, which is just up here past the gas station there. It used to be an IGA, now called Nestor's. So stopped there, and then yeah, I just kept walking, not having a clue, just in total awe. I remember seeing elk poop on the ground and couldn't believe that they came into town like that, which was pretty awesome. Weather almost the same. It was a little cloudier that day, but so yeah, this is the main drag here in Jasper, Connaught Street. Pretty much looks the same. Alright. So I don't need snacks today because I already ate, so we'll just keep going and we'll get up to the trail. A little backstory as I'm walking here. I originally came out west from Toronto when I was 20, and I jumped on the train headed west to Edmonton and visited my cousins for about 10 days, and then eventually they drove me up here to Jasper. My plan was to spend a couple nights here, a couple nights in Banff, and then head out to hike the West Coast Trail, and then eventually work my way back to Calgary and head back home. Well, I got to Jasper and I was just so blown away. I ended up staying here for about 4 days and then headed off to Banff. And my first night in Banff, I met two girls that I had met on the train coming out, and had a party that night, and eventually met with some of their friends. They asked me to stick around and said you can crash in our place. And well, a couple of days turned into 6 months, and then had the time of my life that summer in Banff. Went back home for a couple of months and had enough of that and jumped on the train again. Came back to Banff, and the Rockies have been my home ever since. Okay, so we're on the trail now. I just left north end of town. This is called the Discovery Trail. So it's a little trail that does a loop kind of around the town. So if you're here in town for a visit and you want to go for a nice walk, nothing too stressful or strenuous, this would be a nice choice for an evening stroll. And up there would be the Pyramid Bench, which is where we're headed. So yeah, 31 years. I had no idea what I was getting into. No idea of what ventures were awaiting me, that's for sure. And I've had many. And this was the very first one. No idea about bears, nothing. I didn't know grizzlies were even here. So that was a bit of an eye-opener when someone told me about those and gave me the rundown on what to do. Of course, had no pepper spray back then, bear spray, but got some with me today. Lots of wildlife up here in the bench, even with its close proximity to town. There's a lot of beaver ponds up here, so we get beaver, we get moose, we get deer, elk, bear, sometimes wolves, coyotes, pretty much everything. You don't have to go far. We've already had a bear with cubs in town here, so it's definitely bear season now. We'll just keep trucking along here. Alright, so we're leaving the town behind and the traffic. Now we're in what's called Cottonwood Creek. The trees down. I love this little section of forest here. It's so nice. And the views get pretty good actually right off the start. I'll show you here in a bit. So I'm trying to go as original as I can. I remember I stopped at a kind of a surplus store in Edmonton when I was there to get some clothes for hiking the West Coast Trail. And I remember I bought a pair of camouflage pants, which I eventually cut in shorts, which I actually still use. And this t-shirt right here says the adventure starts here. I've had this t-shirt for 31 years. Got a few holes in it, but figured I'd wear it today. And I still got some camouflage pants on, so we're trying to go as OG as possible. There's the bridge across Cottonwood Creek, which looks like a tree fell on it. It's got some damage here. She'll need some fixing. heading up into the bench. Alright, just heading up here, slowly working my way. Look at that cool old Douglas fir there. Some pretty cool old trees up here. This guy, look at the roots on this, eh? Pretty wild. A cool, creepy old looking tree. Pretty wild. So yeah, the views open up pretty good here. Got the rail yard down there. A little overcast, but still a nice day. Finally warming up. It was a little bit of a late spring. We'll continue on. So this is one of the first flowers of the season. It's called prairie crocus. Tells you how late our spring was, because we're 4th of May today, and these usually start coming out in March when it gets sunny, but a little later this year. But nice pretty flower. Looking for the sun. Yeah, prairie crocus. So I'm not even a kilometer from town. And listen how quiet it is already. You know, you don't have to go far to get away from it all. 5,000 people or more just down the hill, and nobody up here. So that would be Cottonwood Creek down there. Heads up to what's called the Cottonwood Slough, which is a series of beaver ponds. But we'll be heading the other direction today. There's Mount Edith Cavell. And we got Friat in the distance. Mount Brussels. Kirkesland, Hardisty, Takara. Nice views up here. Here's a map of the trail network in the Pyramid Bench. So we got Jasper. So quite a lot of interconnecting trails. You can see how they go through these little valleys basically, and then there's little ridges that kind of go along in between each, like that. So it's not like a flat plateau. And then we got Pyramid Lake and Patricia Lake are the biggest lakes up here. So yeah, if you're looking for some nice nature walks around the town site of Jasper, there's more than enough up here. Okay, so right behind me, you see that car, that's the Pyramid Lake Road. Goes up to Pyramid Lake. Of course, we got Pyramid Mountain right up there. Now we're heading on, I think this is trail 2. It'll cut up towards the horse stables, and then we'll head up to the edge of the bench, which overlooks the valley, down to Lake Edith and Lake Annette and all those. I don't know if you can see behind, but that was all forest at one time there, but they've done some clear cutting because we have to create a fire break up here to hopefully help save the town if we get a major forest fire. And we had a pine beetle infestation that killed all the pine trees, so they would all eventually fall down and create a lot of tinder, so they'd actually...
Thanks, one more coming.
So they actually did some legit logging up here, which pretty rare for a national park, but kind of a necessity. They're all dead trees anyway, and creating a major fire hazard just outside of town, so it was justified. Plus it opens up the area, get a lot more ungulates and animals, deer, elk, you know, and of course predators too, bears, whatnot. So it creates a pretty good environment for them. The forest was all sick and dead anyway. So we're here, and we want to go to edge of the bench. So we're going to continue along here, take this trail, and then we'll cut back. Maybe we'll go all the way to Pyramid Lake, we'll see. I don't think I did on my when I first came up here that first day, but we'll do that today. So not the exact foot trail maybe, but pretty close. I had no idea where I was going back then, so who knows, maybe we're on the right track. But yeah, here we go. To be or not to be, that is the question. And looks like to be it is. Onward. And looky what we have here. First bear track of the season. Little black bear. You can see one way to tell is the distance between the nails and the toes. The black bear claws are a lot more curved for climbing. So a grizzly, their claws would probably poke out a little more. Of course, the size of it. And where's another track here? There's another one. Right there. So yeah, little black bear. And grizzly toes are usually, they push right against each other, where black bear, there'll be little gaps between their toes. It's another way to tell. So, yeah, bear season. Cool. Got some white-tailed deer up ahead here. You'll see once they take off and their tails go up why they're called white-tail. Here they go. Down the hill they go. Not quite as tame as the mule deer, the white-tail. mule deer are much more common around here, but yeah, we got both deer species, whitetail and mule deer. Cool. Now, 30 years ago on my first hike, I did not see any deer on this trail, but I did on my second hike, which was up to Sarnet Lake, and that was the first deer I ever saw in my life. I never saw one in 20 years growing up in Ontario. And I was so excited. Little did I know what else I'd be running into over the years. That's a very cool Douglas fir. The reason why Douglas fir survive here for so long, these trees get pretty old, is they're quite fire resistant, and the bark's really thick, and the sap that leaks out of them is actually a fire retardant, kinda, so it doesn't really catch fire. These trees aren't really designed to burn like pine and spruce are, so they're a good addition to the forest, and they will survive forest fires if it's not too severe, which some of these older ones have survived fires in the past for sure. You can see the old scars, but yeah, not bad views for a little hike outside of town, right? Nice easy stroll after work. So this is why they call it edge of the bench, because it's kind of at the edge of the bench. So down there we got the Highway 16 and the Athabasca River, and then over there we got Jasper Park Lodge, the Fairmont Resort, Lac Beauvert, the lake over there, and then of course yeah, Mount Edith Cavell. Pretty nice. That's the part I vividly remember from my first time. Beauty. So there's the Athabasca River down there, and over there we got Lake Annette, or is that Lake Edith? I think that's Lake Annette. But river's quite low right now. Runoff hasn't started yet. That'll fill right up there another month when it gets warm. Pretty big river. And back down towards Jasper town. Okay, here we are at the high point highlight of the day. We got Lake Edith, Lake Annette, Athabasca River, and then Lac Beauvert, Jasper Park Lodge down there, and of course our big mountains down the parkway, Kirkesland, Brussels, Friat, Edith Cavell behind the trees, and the Trans-Canada Highway 16, Moberly Bridge, and that mountain there is called Rosh Banam, aka Old Man. Take a break here. Enjoy the view. Alright, well, what would be an anniversary without a celebration, right? Might as well have a step 2. Cheers. Good stuff. I no longer have my original day pack. It was this travel backpack I bought that had like a day pack that zipped onto the back. That was my first backpack, but I no longer have that. But this was the second day pack I ever bought. It's the old school purple mech 30 liter, I think, maybe, day pack. I've had this thing for almost, yes, probably 29, 30 years. And it's still, the zipper broke, but I just fixed it the other day, and the top lid there. But yeah, still use it to this day. So don't have my original one, but this is pretty much been my day pack for 30 years. So we're going full nostalgia today. Sure is bringing back good memories. And I do have the original photo I took right here of that day. So I'll post that up too. It's pretty cool being here after all those years, and so many memories. That first summer in Banff was the best time of my life. And some of the people I met are still friends with today, best friends to this day. Changed the course of my life. I thought I'd just go hike the West Coast Trail and head home, you know. And yeah, I just fell in love with these mountains so quickly. This was the hike that did it. Right here, sitting right here. And I can understand why. So I've been living in the Rockies for my whole adult life. Like I said, I did 12 years in Banff and Canmore, most of them in Banff. And then moved up here in 2005 to Jasper. And then in 2020, I moved down to Crowsnest Pass. And then been back here for a year now. Back in Jasper. Little did I know back then. I thought, man, it'd be so cool if I could spend the whole summer out here. I did. And I partied my face off, and had the time of my life, but I climbed a couple of mountains and got to experience the backcountry for the first time, and did some hikes around Banff, and so I had a good mix of it all for being 20 years old, which many people have lived the same experience, and many people who still live here today, that's how they ended up here, the same kind of way. But yeah, met lots of amazing people. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep the memories coming, I guess. Alright, so heading back in the forest. So I remember at this point, 31 years ago, I left that viewpoint and I was heading this direction here, where I'm going, and it was just so quiet. I couldn't get over it, and I was just caught up in that, the silence of it all. And then, of course, that was broken by some guy ripping by on his bike. Of course, it startled the heck out of me. But then he said he saw a bear, black bear, about 300 meters back. And I didn't even think about bears. I hadn't, you know, it was the last thought on my mind. But that was a quick reality check. So I think I took the quickest exit trail back towards town after that. So I think that's what we'll do here coming up. So that's the main trail 2B, which would eventually take you down to Pyramid Lake. And I think this was the junction here where I said, yeah, I think I'll start heading back towards town after that biker told me about the bear. So I'll take this 2J here, see where it goes. I think it heads back towards the horse stables. Yeah. I still didn't know there was grizzlies out here. It's a nice stand of aspen here, which is quite colorful in the fall when they turn golden. But here's a cool feature about aspen. And the black bears like to eat the buds in the spring, so they climb the tree and they leave their scars behind on the tree of their claws. That's pretty cool. Just coming up on the stables here. The horse stables, where they do little horseback trips around here and stuff like that. And some people store their horses up here. Of course, we got more aspen here, which is really good for the forest. Another fire-resistant tree, which we need. Makes good buffer and keeps the ground open, so you get more sunlight, more plants growing, which brings more elk and deer, which also bring predators, so it's good for restoring the balance. This is kind of what you want in your environment, mixed forests like this, instead of just all pine and spruce that are meant to burn. So what we have here is a very unhealthy forest, and that made it susceptible to things like the pine beetle. So, you know, we did a really good job preventing fires, but it's a natural cycle and it reached its peak. So, you know, if these aspens survive a fire and then they become the more dominant tree, more open areas, more wildlife, which is part of the cycle of life here in the montane region of the Rockies. So very valuable tree. And the cool thing is they're all connected by the roots in one big grove, and there's like a mother tree, and the rest of these are basically clones of the mother tree. So a very, very important tree species to have here. And here's the stables up here. So here's a good example of some of the clearing they did. So that area used to look like that. And then now it's just they left the aspen standing and a few trees here and there, like, and probably some Douglas fir in there too. So it's basically what the montane, which is the lower regions of the Rocky Mountains up here, usually classified as what semi-arid savanna, or what you call like mountain prairie, some more open grassland, stands of aspen, and then once you hit the mountain slopes, then you get into your pine and spruce and onto the subalpine. But yeah, so this logging was done to kind of try and do it, make it as natural as possible. I mean, and it's creates a buffer zone between all that forest and up there from town in case we get a big fire. But I don't know if it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's nature's design, not ours. All right, now we're back on 2A, where we came from at the beginning, looping back into town. So that's one of the many trails you can do from the town of Jasper if you're here and staying here for a visit or whatever. There's lots of nice trails around. Lake Edith and Lake Annette that you saw, you can access all of those. There's trails all over there too by Jasper Park Lodge, and yeah, Lake Edith and Lake Annette are just absolutely beautiful too, and you can drive to them. There's picnic areas and trails all the way around the lakes. And then again, you got the pyramid bench up here, which there's lots of little lakes up here too as well. So yeah, if you're staying in town and you don't really want to go too far and just go for a stroll around, this is the backyard of Jasper. So that right there is some extremely fresh bear scat. That was not here on the way in. It's still like wet. So that's a big dump. It's like grizzly bear size. Interesting. Oh, there's a wee track there. So maybe a little black bear. Pay the pass. Fairy tree. Back in town. So that was a nice little, it's about 4 hours walking up there. Nice revisit, anniversary hike. I've done that hike a few times since that time, the first time, but I don't know, today was a little special, going up there. So yeah, just gonna head home now and eat some dinner and decide what I'm gonna do for my weekend. I think it's time to get out for an overnighter. It's time, so stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed the little walk, and yeah, if you're ever in Jasper, there's some of your options on what to do around town. So if you like to see more of that too, I'd be happy to oblige and show you some of the trails, which I might anyway. So anyways, until next time.